Hello, Theodore Schubot here, giving you guys another message that you will not hear at church. I guarantee that. A woman in New York took her 6-month-old child, dangled the child from her apartment, and dropped the child to his death. This happened just recently in New York, and it just shows what evil is resonating throughout the world, what evil is resonating throughout the cities, throughout the counties, the towns, the villages. How much evil is out there, how much demonic influence there is on people. And just to read to you guys the story on Breitbart, it says a baby girl was thrown from a sixth-floor window of an apartment building to her death on Thursday. Witnesses and police said, making her the third child killed that way in the city in 3 months. So this is the third time that this same exact thing has happened in 3 months in the same city of New York. It says here that 6-month-old Janilla Lawrence was in a Bronx apartment with her mother, Tanisha Fearon, 27, and 3 other children at the time, police said. The other children, a 10-year-old boy, an 8-year-old girl, and a 3-year-old girl, weren't injured but were taken to a hospital, police said. It says here that neighbor Lizette Rodriguez said the woman had been shouting, "I'm going to throw her, we're all gonna die." Other neighbors shouted to the woman, "Don't do it." Rodriguez called 911 and said she heard the baby hit the ground while she was on the phone. Gregorio Lopez, who lives next door to Fearon, said he heard a commotion in the hallway and a man yelling, "Please God, please help us." Lopez said he didn't want to leave his apartment because he didn't know what was happening, but went to the roof after the man left. When he arrived there, he looked into his neighbor's window. And this is what he saw. He said, quote, "I saw her naked and the 3 kids naked, and I thought they were all dead. And then she jumps up and starts hitting the window." So this crazy woman, she's not crazy, she's possessed. This is a demonically possessed woman, is laying naked on the floor, and all of a sudden she just gets up and starts hitting the window. I mean, what can we attribute this to but demonic possession? Human beings just don't start acting like this. You can't explain this type of behavior with science. You can look at all the hormones that are going, all the movement of her hormones that are going through her bloodstream or her brain. You can look at the electric movements going on in her brain, but that is all simply consequences or results of something greater that is happening within her. It's like saying, you can put love in a microscope. When someone is in love, you can see all of the things going on in this person's brain. You can see all the hormones that are flowing through their blood, but that is not love itself. That is simply a result of love. So you can't really explain this type of behavior with science. Um, and then it says here, last month, a newborn girl with her umbilical cord attached was found dead outside an apartment building in the University Heights section of the borough. Authorities arrested her mother on murder and manslaughter charges, saying she hid her pregnancy and threw the child to her death from a 7th-story window shortly after giving birth. In August, police arrested a Queens woman in connection with the death of her 1-month-old son. According to court papers, she told authorities an evil spirit had possessed the boy, and she was stopping the pain when she threw him from a 4th-floor window. So this type of thing is happening frequently, where women are taking their children and just throwing them out of windows and killing them. Now, you can sit there and tell me that this is mental illness. I don't believe it. I just don't believe that. I don't believe human beings just do stuff like that. When a woman has a child, there is a natural bond that takes place between the two. So what these women are doing is contrary to nature. And when something is contrary to nature, we can't just simply say that this is a part of nature and that this is only natural. Because to say that this is mental illness is to say that this is something that is natural within the person or something that is innate within the person. And it just doesn't work that way. There was actually an Italian psychiatrist who said that there are some things that just can't be explained with science. Just can't be explained with a microscope. And it's like saying I can put love in a microscope. You can't put evil in a microscope. You can't put love in a microscope. You can't put hatred in a microscope, or the desire to commit evil in a microscope. You just can't do it. There is things out there that are just unexplained in the realm of science. And when I heard this story, the first thing, or one of the first things that came to my mind, was the movie Deliver Us from Evil. If you haven't seen this film, I recommend that you see it. I think the film was quite realistic in its portrayal of satanic possession and the diabolical and how it works. I thought it was a good movie. I actually saw it in theater. And there's a scene in the movie where a woman who is possessed takes her baby and goes to the zoo and throws the child in the lion section. And the child is rescued in the film, but the film shows you what demonic people do. That they just will take a child and throw the child into the lion section so that the child can be devoured by lions. Play the clip.
Yeah. Military files, DOD sent him over. Name is Mick Santino. Both he and a wife beater, Jimmy, served in Griggs' platoon in Iraq. All three were dishonorably discharged.
Why?
They attacked the battalion chaplain.
Chaplain.
Yeah, they cut him up pretty good. All three served time in the brig at Quantico, but the Corps cut him loose.
So has the Corps got a home address on record for Santino?
No, just an old P.O. box is no longer his.
What about Jane Crown?
That's Griggs' wife, and the kid she tossed at the zoo was theirs. Look at this. It's Griggs' autopsy report.
Suicide.
Yep. Griggs guzzled 2 quarts of pain thinner with no sign he was forced. Now, he didn't wrap himself up in the drop cloth, and Santino was the only one down there.
So, Santino watches Griggs kill himself down in the basement. And later, watches Griggs' wife try and kill her own kid.
Yeah. He's a bad influence.
It's that writing on the back wall.
Graffiti? Maybe he's brought in to paint over it.
Graffiti in a lion's den. She knew Santino. So what was she doing there? Look at him. It's like nothing ever happened.
This is the reality. The reality is that people are going to do these evil things, and that this evil is influenced by the diabolical. I'm reminded of the story in the New Testament where a man goes to Jesus and says, "My son keeps throwing himself into the fire, and he keeps throwing himself into the water to drown himself." And the scripture tells us that this person is possessed. So the diabolical will always try to push you to either destroy yourself or harm yourself, or to destroy or harm others. This is the nature of the diabolical. The diabolical is never going to bring you peace. It will bring you a false sense of peace, but it'll never bring you peace. It'll never bring you harmony or order or serenity. It will always bring chaos. And the murders of these children is only a reflection of the spiritual state of the people. There is a spiritual decay, and it is a serious and a very substantial decay in the society. And we're talking about 3 children that are murdered within the last 3 months, but let's talk about all the abortions that have happened. And since we're talking about New York City, let's talk about the abortion rate in New York City. I think it's the highest in the country. In 2011, just looking at the statistics here, in 2011, 138,370 women obtained abortions in New York. 138,370. This is from a secular source, by the way. 138,370 women aborted their children in 2011 alone. We're talking about 3 kids that are killed by being thrown off buildings. This is mass murder. And these women aren't being arrested. How can we arrest women for throwing children off buildings, but we don't arrest women for doing this evil? That's the question. And the fact that you have so much innocent blood spill, you're going to attract, with so much innocent blood spill, you're going to attract the demonic forces. And there's demonic, because what The Exorcist will teach is that anytime you have an act of extreme evil take place, that magnetizes the demonic. So if you have a rape or an act of pedophilia, mass murder, that sort of thing, a malicious murder, demons will tend to go to that site and latch on to that place. That's why, for example, there's been cases where you've had horrific murders take place in a house, and the people will go to that house, even though the person who committed the murder is no longer living there. You'll have newcomers come into the home, and they will experience all sorts of strange activity, poltergeist and things of that sort, objects moving on their own, the TV going off, things like that, because of the grave act of evil that took place prior to them moving in, and the demons are still latched. That's why the exorcist will say, well, it's best that you bring a priest into the house to bless the home and to exorcise the house, to bless the home. So when you have this much evil happening, you better believe there's going to be evil spirits latching on to that place, and they're going to be possessing people who welcome them. Because you can't be possessed unless you welcome possession, unless you want to make some sort of pact with evil. Or if you love evil. People who love evil and who commit evil willingly and explicitly, they just love it. Those people will end up getting possessed. Homosexuals who just love their sin, who are proud of it, those people end up getting possessed, or they end up getting influenced by the demonic. Murderers, rapists, pedophiles, all these people end up getting possessed, or they end up getting influenced by the demons. And so when you have this amount of abortion, this much abortion taking place, you better believe there's going to be some sort of satanic activity going on. You better believe there's going to be a satanic presence, is what I'm trying to say, in that area. So you have this amount of mass murder, and what gets me is how come we're talking about 3 kids that are killed, but we have literally tens of thousands of babies murdered in New York City, and no one's talking about it. In fact, it's protected by the government. So as far as I'm concerned, all of this evil, whether it be women throwing their babies off buildings or women murdering their children in the abortion clinic, this is all attracting satanic spirits into that area. And people shouldn't be surprised when this evil happens, because when you commit evil and when you protect evil, Satan enters in. This is Theodore Schubot. Hope you guys have enjoyed this message. Hope you guys have learned something from this message. You just heard some theology. God bless, and God be with us.